I hold deep affection for every aspect of my spouse, but an unexpected moment in the car once shattered the illusion. It happened swiftly and absurdly, causing me to question if it was all in my mind for a brief instant. I was sitting in the passenger seat, adjusting the air conditioner, while Madison was leisurely scrolling through her phone. Then, spontaneously, her thumb slipped nothing dramatic, just a minor, thoughtless error. This small action exposed a message, a single one, from a name unfamiliar to me, Ethan, obsessing over last night. The words were clear and direct, lying between us like an open sore. I didn't immediately respond. My mind raced through every Ethan I could recall: coworker, client, acquaintance of an acquaintance. No, no Ethan. Certainly not someone who had shared a last night with my wife. My heart began to race. I glanced at her. She was still looking at her phone, but now typing frantically. I didn't need to decipher the message to understand it wasn't an appropriate response from a married woman to another man. An instinct took over me that I wasn't aware of until my hand swiftly grabbed the phone out of her grasp. Madison jerked, as if I had splashed ice water on her. Her gaze snapped to me, eyes wide and lips slightly parted. For a brief moment, I saw fear flash across her face, then it vanished, replaced by annoyance. "What's wrong with you, Adam? Give me my phone." She tried to reach for it, but I snatched it away. My heart was racing, thumping against my rib cage. I knew the truth, but I still wanted to hear her admit it. "Who is Ethan?" I asked again, maintaining a steady voice. Madison sighed, rolling her eyes as if I had accused her of something trivial. "For God's sake, Adam, he's just a friend." "Friend, why must you be overly dramatic?" Friend thinking, I can't get last night out of my mind. When I saw the phone, Madison reached for it, but I avoided her swift movement. Reading the message on the screen made me blurry-eyed with anger. "Ethan, you look great. I wish we had more time together." My stomach turned. She missed him already. It hadn't even been a full day. Madison spoke, her voice sharp and defensive, but I couldn't comprehend her words due to the loud ringing in my ears. She did something that made me feel icy cold. She laughed. Not a nervous or ashamed laugh, but one of mockery. "Oh my God, Adam. You're going insane right now." She snatched the phone from my hands and stuffed it into her lap. "It's not what you think. Jesus, you've been so paranoid lately." The term she opted for, not apologies, not clarifications, not promises of repair. I found myself staring at her, barely perceiving the person before me. At that instant, it wasn't about Ethan or the texts. It was about her gaze. A gaze that made me feel like the culprit, the fool for uncovering her. And without breaking our gaze, she moved to shift the gear and accelerated the car. "We're heading home," she declared, her voice terse, decisive. "I won't discuss this with you now." In that instant, the dialogue ceased, or so she believed. However, I wasn't through yet. Far from it. The drive home was oppressive. The car's atmosphere seemed dense, weighty, as if I were suffocating in it. Madison kept her eyes on the road, her knuckles white as she held the steering wheel a touch too firmly. Her jaw set rigidly, a sign of victory in an argument, as she saw this as nothing more than a dispute to her. Indeed, that's what this was for her, an argument. This wasn't a confession or an apology, merely another petty squabble she intended to push through until I surrendered. But this time, I wouldn't give in. I glared at her, waiting for some sign of remorse or regret, anything to indicate guilt or even a half-hearted lie. Yet she remained silent, flicking on the radio as if this were an ordinary evening. The audacity of it ignited me. "Pull over." She disregarded me. "Madison." Her tone was steady, unduly calm from my turmoil. I repeated my demand to pull over. She sighed dramatically, shaking her head. "Why? So you can keep acting absurd?" I insisted again. With a sigh and a shake of her head, she parked in the closest lot, a dismal gas station with malfunctioning lights and a broken ice machine. The instant the car came to a halt, I was already freeing myself from my seatbelt, facing her squarely. She scoffed dismissively, running her hand through her hair. "I did tell you the truth. He's just a friend," she asserted. "Balderdash," I leaned in intensely, my heart racing. Don't I appear to be an imbecile in your eyes? She smirked derisively, shaking her head. You're acting like one. My jaw tightened in anger. Show me the messages then. But at that very moment, I knew. Not that I hadn't suspected it before, but there was something so damning about the casual, unflinching way she refused. She wasn't even trying to deceive me anymore. Something within me shattered. Are you utterly serious? I sneered, letting out a disdainful chuckle. You're not even going to attempt to pretend. You're just going to sit there and look me in the eye and lie to me? She wasn't lying. She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms over her chest like a stubborn teenager caught misbehaving. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Making what into a mountain? I questioned, raising my hands. Are you conversing with another man secretly, already yearning for him, constantly reminiscing about last night? Your reaction gave you away slightly, but you masked it with a sigh. Adam, for goodness sake, are you having an affair with him? This question took her aback. For the first time since this began, her facial expression changed. A fleeting hint of doubt, guilt, perhaps even dread. It was visible. She swallowed, looking away, nervously tapping her fingers on her leg. We remained in silence, the tension growing thicker between us. Eventually, she murmured, "This isn't the right time or place for this conversation." I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. "You're incredible," I retorted. "I haven't slept with him," she said, her voice now softer, as if trying to reassure not only me but also herself. "It's not like that." I regarded her intently. "Do you expect me to believe that?" she asked, lifting her chin defiantly. "Yes, and that was it," I replied, revealing her true nature to me in that moment, no longer the woman I thought I knew, but someone else entirely, not my wife. Not my friend, merely a stranger in the driver's seat, deceiving me, counting on me to believe her as usual. I exited the vehicle after opening the door. "Where are you headed?" "Home," I replied. "However, not with you." I swiftly shut the door before she could utter another word. I started walking without a destination in mind. Unaware of where I was going, I continued my journey. The gas station stood on a corner of a dismal, dimly lit street, and the air hung heavy with the impending storm's tension. My fists were clenched so tightly that my nails dug into my palms, but I barely registered the pain. My thoughts whirled in chaos. Memories of her texts, Madison's vacant gaze, her laughter when I confronted her flickered through my mind. I heard the car door slam behind me. "Good heavens, Adam." Her voice echoed harshly through the night like a knife. "Are you truly just going to leave in a fit of anger like a child?" I persisted onward without responding or glancing back. "Adam." Her footsteps echoed on the sidewalk as she chased after me, and moments later she gripped my arm. "Can we pause for a moment?" I pulled away from her grip, turning to confront her. "Why, so you can deceive me further?" she sighed, raking her fingers through her hair. "Goodness, you're making this into such a big dramatic issue when it isn't." I chuckled humorlessly, my breath hitching as if I had just finished a marathon. "Not a big deal." I stepped nearer, softening my tone. "You were with another man last night, Madison." She flinched slightly, but I caught the subtle motion. Then, in a way that only infuriated me further, she rolled her eyes again. "Oh my God, Adam. I wasn't with anyone." "Really?" I folded my arms. "Then explain to me precisely what took place last night." She pressed her lips together, her gaze avoiding mine. I let out a scoffing laugh, devoid of humor. "Yes, that's what I assumed." She groaned once more, giving the impression I was causing her a headache. "All right then, if you insist." "What transpired?" "Nothing much. We conversed, had some beverages, and possibly engaged in playful banter." "But you were flirting," I retorted, drawing nearer. "Really, are you joking right now? It wasn't significant." She countered loudly. "Adam, for heaven's sake, lighten up. I was simply enjoying myself." It held no deeper meaning. My gaze fixed on her, a sensation of inner fracture overwhelming me. "You're astonishing," she exhaled sharply, shaking her head. "I don't understand your outrage." "Because you were unfaithful, Madison." The word felt bitter on my tongue. You were unfaithful to me, and you lacked the courage to confess it." Her lips opened briefly, and for a moment, I thought I saw a hint of guilt. However, as swiftly as it emerged, it vanished, and she smiled not a kind smile. She smirked condescendingly. "You're so overdramatic," she murmured, tilting her head. It was merely a jest. I struggled to breathe, to think. "A jest," she shrugged. "You're exaggerating." I retreated slowly, eyeing her as if she were a stranger. Perhaps she had been for some time, and I was too blind to notice it. "I don't recognize you anymore," I whispered softly. She signed exasperatedly, crossing her arms. "Oh, come on, don't feign innocence. You're just upset because someone else showed me attention, and you can't deal with it." I stood frozen. She smirked. "It seems your insecurity is the root of this, isn't it?" My vision clouded with fury. Insecure, not betrayed, not heartbroken, insecure. One last glance at her, the woman I loved, the one I trusted, then I turned and walked away, leaving her behind for the first time, not returning home. I wasn't sure where I was heading, but I knew I couldn't return to that house. It held her scent on the sheets, her laughter still reverberated through its walls, and each room was a stark reminder of the depth of the betrayal. My legs propelled me down the street under the flickering lights and closed shop fronts until I ended up outside a bar. A type of establishment with neon beer signs in the windows and a jukebox playing old rock songs at just the right volume to muffle your thoughts. Ideal. I walked inside, barely noting the aroma of inexpensive alcohol and fried food. The place was only half full. Just a few small groups. A couple of men huddled over the bar. A bartender cleaning glasses. I made my way directly to the counter and took a seat on a stool. "What can I get for you, buddy?" the bartender asked, barely glancing up. "Whiskey." My voice seemed unfamiliar to me, monotonous. The drink was in front of me swiftly. Swallowed it hastily, feeling the searing heat descend my throat. It was futile. I called for another drink. I hardly registered when someone took a seat next to me. But then, a challenging night. Her voice was smooth, tinged with amusement. I glanced over, revealing just enough of my face to see a woman observing me with a raised eyebrow. Around 30, blonde, and her sharp eyes missed nothing. She idly stirred her cocktail with red-painted nails tapping against the glass. I sighed audibly through my nose. "Something similar to that." She smirked. "Allow me to guess. You're dealing with life problems?" I chuckled humorlessly. "Well, yes." She tilted her head, eyes glinting. She guessed. This surprised me. I faced her fully, scrutinizing her visage. "So how did you know that?" She nonchalantly shrugged, sipping her drink. "Consider it a skill." I shook my head, bitterly laughing. Yes, she had read me right. The words slipped out more effortlessly this time, as if speaking them aloud made it more tangible, more lasting. The woman clicked her tongue. "Now, let me guess. You're keeping secrets." "You said she deceived you, making you question your own sanity." "Yes, that's accurate." She then hinted at familiarity, suggesting she had experienced similar situations. "Indeed," she implied. Leaning closer and lowering her voice, she inquired, "Are you still in love with her?" This caused my stomach to knot. "I'm unsure." Her next question left me momentarily speechless. "Why haven't you left?" This puzzled me not because I lacked an answer, but because I possessed one that I disliked profoundly. I rubbed the back of my neck, grappling with this perplexing conundrum. Why do people behave this way? If you're discontent, if you desire another, why not simply depart? The woman smiled, but it didn't touch her eyes. People like that? She subtly leaned in, her voice softening to a near whisper. They don't want to leave. They merely wish to test their boundaries. A shiver ran down my back as I realized she was speaking the truth. Madison showed no remorse, no embarrassment, and hadn't bothered to conceal the fact. She had already made up her mind that I wouldn't depart. The understanding sank into me, heavy and oppressive. And that's when I knew. I had to disprove her. I can't recall leaving the bar. One moment, I was seated there, her words piercing me like a knife. The next, I was back outside, the frosty air on my face as I retrieved my phone. My hands were steady now. My thoughts were clear. If Madison believed I would just give in to this, she was sorely mistaken. Scrolling through my contacts, I selected a name that hadn't been dialed in months. It barely rang twice before he picked up. "Adam," he said groggily, confused. "It's almost midnight. I need you to let me stay at your place." I responded without preamble or explanation. After a moment of silence, he said, "What happened?" Pause. "She cheated." More silence. Then, in a low and angry tone, "Are you joking?" I exhaled. "I wish. Get here as soon as possible." I ended the call and began to walk. Josh lived about 15 minutes away, and I welcomed the distance for the chance to collect myself. However, with each step, my anger resurfaced. As the initial shock subsided, memories returned. The way she had distanced herself from me over the past few months, the sudden excuses, the odd, quiet moments when she'd gaze at her phone and smile at messages I never received. I should have noticed sooner, but I hadn't because I trusted her. Currently, she was likely at home, casually sipping wine on her couch, unfazed, not bothering to message him about our spat. The mocking smile and derisive chuckle she flashed me still rankled. She'd made me feel like a fool for uncovering her deceit. I gritted my teeth, recalling the incident. Reaching Josh's place, he was waiting at the door, arms crossed, impatient. "Spill it all," he said. I did just that, recounting the messages, her smug laughter, her acting as if I were mad. Josh listened intently, his jaw gradually tightening. When I finished, he exhaled sharply. "That's preposterous." I agreed. "Indeed." She didn't bother denying it. "Yes, she did, but weakly." Josh shook his head. "All right, so what's the strategy?" And that was the crux of the matter, wasn't it? I had to end things with her. No longer a question, merely a necessity. Yet departing felt inadequate, like giving her an easy pass. She believed she could embarrass me without repercussions. I desired her to experience the same emotions I was going through. I remained composed, pondering, "Don't you have a tech-savvy friend?" Josh showed a frown. "Yes." "Why?" I fixed him with a steady gaze. "I want all the details." Josh's eyes expanded. Then, gradually, his lips formed a smile. "Ah," he said, nodding. "That is a clever plan indeed." Josh's acquaintance, Mark, was precisely the kind of person you wanted when seeking information about someone. Quiet, unassuming, yet potentially menacing with technology. The sort of individual who could discover what you had for breakfast 3 years ago if he so desired. We convened at a diner the following morning. I hadn't rested, but I didn't feel fatigued. I felt alert, adrenaline still pulsating beneath my skin, keeping me sharp. Mark took his seat opposite me and Josh. He placed his coffee as if it were simply another casual Saturday morning. Without delay, Josh posed the question, "Can you access Madison's private data?" Mark arched an eyebrow in response. "To obtain information. Device, computer, email, social media, communication, desire for complete information." Mark paused, sipping coffee. "Access to these matters? Affirmative." Madison never concealed her passwords from me, not out of trust, but apathy towards my inquiries. Comfort had blinded her. Mark smirked. "Easy peasy." Sliding the laptop over, he instructed, "Start here." In under 20 minutes, Mark accessed her accounts. The revelation sent a knot into my stomach, as it wasn't merely verifying infidelity, but uncovering the extent of it. Scrolling through messages first, my heart pounded until I spotted the name. Ethan. Impatiently awaiting our reunion. When will he be gone? Madison. Next weekend. I'll claim a work retreat. We'll have the place to ourselves. Stunned, I stood motionless. Josh swore softly. "She's inviting him to our home," I ground my teeth. "Our residence." Mark continued scrolling. Ethan wasn't the only one in question. Another man, named Ryan, and then another, Chris, arrived with identical flirtatious, intimate messages. Different names, same scheme. For months, possibly years, she had been engaging in this behavior. I slouched in the booth, staring at the screen. Jesus Christ. Josh clutched his coffee mug tightly, as if it might break. She's a serial adulteress. I chuckled bitterly, and here I was, concerned about one man. Mark cast a glance my way. Shall we continue? I sighed, my thoughts racing. No, I said eventually. I've seen enough. Josh shook his head, enraged. So, what do we do now? Divorce, I replied. I looked at him, then at Mark, then back at the messages, and then I smiled. First, I said, I'm going to divorce her, but afterwards. What? I'm going to wreck her life. The plan formed quickly. I didn't just want to leave her. I wanted to dismantle the world she constructed while she was humiliating me. Mark was more than willing to assist. He gathered everything: texts, emails, call logs, even deleted messages. Each deceit, each rendezvous, every alibi I had: timestamps, snapshots, geolocations. She believed herself to be cunning, careful. However, she was neither. The best part? She didn't realize she had already forfeited. That night, I returned home. Madison lounged on the couch, legs folded, nursing a glass of wine as if nothing transpired. Upon entering, she barely glanced up from her phone. "Ah, so you decided to end your pout," she remarked, smirking. I almost chuckled. She still believed she held the advantage. I deposited my keys on the counter and sat opposite her, relaxing nonchalantly. She arched an eyebrow. "What?" I grinned. "Are you available next weekend?" This stumped her. "What?" I was considering a vacation. I cocked my head, observing her intently. The two of us escaping for a brief respite. For just a moment, something flashed in her eyes: fear. Then she sneered, shaking her head. "Heavens, you're so needy." I shrugged. "Then let's go. Let's plan a fun weekend together, away from work and distractions." "You seem hesitant, perhaps due to a work retreat next weekend," I suggested, subtly hinting. Upon seeing my phone, she stiffened, her gaze fixed on the screen, slightly parted lips. "Continue," I prompted. "Share details about your work retreat." Her breath caught subtly, but I noticed. Then, trying to maintain composure, she chuckled nervously. "Oh my goodness, Adam, are you monitoring me now?" I maintained my smile, not answering her question directly. Instead, I continued. "Spying? No. Trapping you in a lie? Absolutely." She rolled her eyes, but a new tightness appeared on her face. "This is so immature." I hummed, scrolling through the phone again. "Which details are you referring to? My knowledge about Ethan or both Ryan and Chris?" There was a heavy silence filled with tension. I carefully observed her, noticing her tight grip on the wine glass and clenched jaw. Then, unexpectedly, she hurled the glass against the wall, leaving a trail of red down the paint as if it were blood. "I can't believe you invaded my privacy," she yelled, standing up. I remained seated, composed. "I can't believe you're so deceitful and duplicitous." Her face twisted in rage. "You had no claim to that information." I stood up, interrupting her. "No claim. No claim to discovering my wife was unfaithful with several men." I let out a sarcastic laugh. "Are you even listening to yourself?" she sneered, folding her arms. "You're being so melodramatic." I shook my head, laughing again. "Go ahead, continue believing that." I moved nearer, softening my tone. "Because I want you to feel secure, Madison. It's important. You should believe you remain in control, but I want you to understand that when this situation unravels, I will relish seeing your realization of loss." For the first instance during our entire relationship, Madison looked frightened, speechless. No smart remark, no dismissive smirk, no falsehood for my consumption. Instead, only dread reflected in her eyes. I reveled in the moment of silence, observing her grapple with the truth, watching her bear the burden of what was about to transpire. Eventually, she sneered, defensively crossing her arms. "So what? You found messages. No big deal." I smiled. "Trust me, you underestimate greatly. I didn't merely discover messages." I continued calmly. "I uncovered everything." Her nostrils flared. "You're bluffing," she retorted. I pulled out my phone, swiped the screen, and allowed the evidence to unfold. One of many recordings featuring Ethan's strong voice. "Wow, last night was fantastic." if I have to listen about your husband just one more time. A softer but recognizable tone belongs to Madison. Shut up. He has no clue. I paused it. She froze in place. I tilted my head slightly. Continue insisting that I'm bluffing. Her mouth opened, yet she remained silent. I stepped cautiously forward. Let me clarify something, Madison. I am well aware of every man you've been having affairs with. I know how long it's been going on, the fake work trips, the sudden increases in overtime, and the alleged girls' nights that never truly occurred. Another file appeared on the screen, a neatly arranged spreadsheet. It detailed her infidelities: Chris, 4 times; Ethan, numerous encounters; Ryan. You didn't even last a month with him, I said with a low chuckle, shaking my head. Apparently, you thought yourself invincible. She glared at me, her expression wild and filled with panic. You're insane. No, Madison, I replied softly, moving nearer still. I've had enough of being your fool. Her breaths were irregular now, her hands shaking slightly by her sides. Yet, there was still a hint of defiance in her eyes, as if she believed she could escape this predicament. All right, she said suddenly, her voice feigning steadiness. You've won. I made a mistake, but we can rectify this. I chuckled, genuinely amused. Fix this. She moved closer to me now, altering her stance. The anger had dissipated, replaced by something strategic. Desperation. Adam, she said, her voice slipping into the soft, seductive tone she used when trying to sway me. We've been together for a long time. Are you truly going to end it all because of this? I raised an eyebrow. So this is it. A minor error, you mean? She managed a faint, sad smile. You know I care for you. And there it was, the last card played, her final attempt to maintain control. I exhaled slowly, gazing at her. Then I smiled. You care for me? I repeated. She swiftly and enthusiastically agreed. Certainly. Neat. I retrieved another document on my phone. Then I believe you'll find this intriguing. I rotated the screen towards her. Her expression soured. It was the divorce papers. Already drafted, already signed, filed that very morning. Her breath hitched. What in the world is this? I wore a broader grin. Your liberation. She snatched the phone from my grasp, scanning frantically. You can't be genuine about this. Oh, I am most definitely serious. I reclaimed the phone, slipping it into my pocket. By the way, your signature isn't necessary. An infidelity clause covers that aspect. Her mouth gaped, then shut. Her entire form stiffened, her mind struggling to comprehend. I leaned in for a final time, whispering intimately, I hope Ethan has an extra room. I murmured subtly, because, as of Monday, you'll be homeless. Her eyes widened. And before you consider reaching out to your boyfriends for aid. I smiled slyly. I've already sent them everything. Every text, every call log, every clandestine detail. Everyone is aware of each other now. Her entire physique tensed up. She retreated hesitantly, negating with her head. You didn't. I nonchalantly responded. Yes, indeed I did. Eventually, Madison lost control. She shouted, sending items from the coffee table flying in a sudden burst of anger. Glass shattered, documents scattered, wine soaked the floor. However, I had already departed, as I had won. She continued to yell as I left, her footsteps echoing and her breaths panicked, repeating no, no, no softly, as if she could reverse what I had done. She couldn't. This was a stalemate. I entered the bedroom, now mine, and retrieved a duffel bag from the wardrobe. I didn't require much, only essentials to sustain me for a few days while I decided my next step. But this residence, she was the one vacating it. Her voice echoed downstairs, hysterical cries for Ethan, Ryan, Chris, perhaps, in an attempt to salvage what remained of her crumbling dominion. I allowed it, took my time packing, lingered amidst the chaos she had wrought. Moments later, rapid footsteps signaled her arrival at the threshold. Her face was a wild shade of red, splotchy, hair disheveled from repetitive hand-raking. For the first time since this ordeal began, she appeared utterly unhinged. You've destroyed my life, she bellowed. With barely a glance, I replied, No, Madison, as I sealed my bag. It was you who did that. She breathed heavily, balling her fists, but I had everything in order. My laughter rang out, genuine and mocking. Goodness gracious, you're truly delusional. Her nostrils flared, we were separated, there were rules, and then she released a fierce sound, gripping her hair tightly. You revealed me as if I were some deceitful one. I completed tasks for another woman, a cheat, a pitiful imitation of a spouse. I moved closer, whispering, "That's precisely what you are." Her body quivered with fury. "You're just resentful. You couldn't fulfill me, so you had to seek satisfaction elsewhere." I sneered. "Is that your excuse for sleeping at night?" She smirked back, still gasping for breath. "I don't need an excuse. I can find another man tomorrow. Someone superior." I leaned in, grinning. "Then why are you still here?" Her smirk faded. I maintained the silence, observing as the realization dawned. She had no one left. The men she believed adored her, now absent. The marriage she thought she commanded, over. The house she assumed was hers, no longer belonging to her. In a single night, her world crumbled, and she knew it. Her lower lip quivered, her fists balling at her sides. She seemed about to say something hurtful, but I merely smiled again. I declared her pitiful and decided to waste no more time on her. I grabbed my bag and exited, leaving her behind. The chilly breeze slapped my face the moment I stepped outdoors. It felt unique, cleaner, lighter, as if 1,000 pounds had been removed from my shoulders, because they had. I strode towards my car, hurled my bag into the back seat, and took my place behind the wheel. I anticipated feeling something: rage, regret, perhaps even sorrow, but all I experienced was tranquility. I presume she remained inside, still attempting to fathom how her entire world had collapsed in under 24 hours. A smirk played on my lips. I had warned her. She had scoffed at me, treated me as worthless, assumed I was too feeble and pathetic to retaliate. Now she stood alone, no partners, no protection, no backup strategy. My car ignited and my phone vibrated, yet I didn't need to check the screen. I already recognized who it was: Madison. Her final desperate plea. After it rang, at the brink of disconnection, I picked up. A void followed, later filled by her voice, faint, frantic. "Adam," she whispered. I remained silent, merely sniffled. "Pray, I wasn't what I intended." Click. I ended the call, blocked her number, erased every message. Without casting another look at our past home, I got onto the road and left. For the first time in a long while, I experienced liberation.